Nobody tells you this. The 1% don't win because they're smarter. They don't win because they got lucky. They win because their mind works differently. Not naturally, not by accident. They trained it to. Most of what separates them from everyone else isn't talent or resources. It's a set of mental habits, patterns of thinking that are uncomfortable, that demand honesty, that require you to actually show up. Here are the 6 brutal truths they live by. If even one of these lands, your life will never look the same. Number 1, they court rejection. The 1% chase rejection because they know something most people take years to learn. Rejection isn't a dead end, it's data. It tells you not yet, not this way, not for this reason. That's real-world information no course or book can give you. The more rejection you collect, the less power it has, and the moment it stops scaring you, you become someone most people simply can't compete with. Real example. James Dyson built 5,127 prototypes before his vacuum worked. He didn't call them failures, he called them learning. That mindset is why he's worth over $10 billion today. The science. Psychologists call it rejection sensitivity desensitization. Repeated exposure to rejection literally rewires your brain's threat response. The fear doesn't disappear, it just gets quieter. Fear of rejection is just fear of information. The sooner that clicks, the sooner everything changes. Number 2, they move before they're ready. Clarity doesn't come before action, it comes from action. The answer isn't found by thinking harder, it's found by moving forward. Every step hands you information that standing still never could. And here's what most people don't realize. Inaction isn't safe, it has a cost. Every day spent waiting is a day of learning, of feedback, of growth, gone. The 1% understand this, so they move. Imperfectly, uncomfortably, but they move. Real example. Sarah Blakely started Spanx with $5,000 and 0 industry experience. She cold-called mills, drove to stores herself, and figured it out in motion. She became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire, not because she was ready, but because she refused to wait. The science. Research shows confidence doesn't precede action, it follows it. Taking small steps toward a goal increases self-efficacy, which makes the next step easier. You can't think you're self-confident, you have to act yourself there. 3 mistakes ahead is still ahead. Start moving. Number 3, they're brutally honest with themselves. The average person lies to feel better. The top 1% tells the truth to get better. And these aren't big lies, they're the quiet ones, the ones that feel harmless. I'll start Monday. I work better under pressure. I just need the right opportunity. Those aren't strategies, they're excuses wearing a suit. The 1% asks the questions that sting. Am I really trying or just going through the motions? Is this my limit or just my comfort zone talking? Because you can't fix what you won't face. Real example. Ray Dalio built his entire hedge fund around radical honesty. He records meetings, invites brutal feedback, and grades every decision. Most people find it uncomfortable. That discomfort is exactly why it works. The science. Researcher Tasha Urich found that while 95% of people believe they're self-aware, only 10 to 15% actually are. That gap between who you think you are and who you actually are is where most potential gets buried. Self-awareness isn't a personality trait, it's a practice, and it might be the cheapest unfair advantage available to anyone. Number 4, they go all in on one thing. Average effort spread across 10 things produces noise. Focused effort on one thing, that's how breakthroughs happen. The 1% aren't doing more, they're doing less with everything they have. One skill, one direction, one obsession. And they say no constantly to good opportunities, to people they like, to things that feel productive but aren't moving the needle, Because every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that actually matters. Real example. Warren Buffett once told his pilot to list his top 25 goals, then circle the top 5. Everything else on the list, avoid it at all costs. Not get to it later, avoid it. Because those are the goals that quietly steal focus from what actually matters. The science. Neuroscientists call it cognitive load. Every additional goal fragments your brain's processing power. Focus isn't just a strategy, it's a biological requirement for peak performance. Scattered effort stays average. Singular focus becomes unstoppable. Number 5, they invest in themselves relentlessly. A job can vanish, a network can shift, a situation can flip overnight. But the person you become, that can't be taken. The 1% treat themselves like the asset. They pour into skills, mindset, health, and discipline like their future depends on it, because it does. And it's not always books and courses. Sometimes it's sleeping 8 hours when grinding feels more productive. Sometimes it's therapy. Sometimes it's saying no to a night out to show up sharp the next morning. It's treating yourself like something worth investing in. Real example. Oprah has spoken openly about how daily meditation, journaling, and intentional learning built the foundation of everything she's created. Not the deals, not the network, the inner work. The economists call it human capital theory. Studies consistently show that people who invest regularly in their own development out-earn and outperform those who don't across every industry and income level. The ROI on becoming a better version of yourself compounds faster than any stock market ever could. Number 6, they've freed themselves from needing approval. Think about how much energy goes into worrying what people will think, if things fail, if something bold doesn't work out, if the path looks unconventional. Now imagine having none of that weight. That's not arrogance, that's freedom. The 1% aren't cold or careless. They just made a quiet decision, usually after getting burned, that other people's opinions don't do the work, don't show up at 2 a.m. when it's hard, don't build the life. So they stopped outsourcing their confidence to the crowd. They show up when it's boring, when nobody's watching, when the results aren't there yet, because their commitment doesn't require an audience. Real example. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter was accepted. She kept going, not because she was fearless, but because her belief in the work mattered more than their doubt. The science. Psychologists call it contingent self-esteem, basing your worth on others' opinions. Research shows it's one of the strongest predictors of anxiety and underperformance. People with internal validation perform better, recover faster, and stay the course longer. Discipline beats motivation, consistency beats intensity, and internal validation beats every crowd in the world. Here's the truth that'll sit with you if you let it. None of this requires talent. None of it requires a head start or the right connections. It only requires a decision. The 1% aren't special. They just stopped waiting for permission to think differently and started showing up before they felt ready. The question isn't whether someone is capable of this. The question is whether they're willing. If you want to keep thinking like this, subscribe, follow, because this is just the beginning. More truths, more frameworks, more of what they don't teach you anywhere else. See you in the next one.